With just 2 weeks to go to the election, you probably already know who you're going to vote for, or if you haven't voted already. And quite frankly, you're probably tired of hearing all the candidates, at each other's throat, all the smear tactics, all the name calling, and everything else. Politics, right? It's the election season, and we're all pretty much done with it and tired of it and whatnot. But before we turn that dial, I promise to make this as brief as possible. But we need to talk about a couple things. First off, why are you voting for who you voted for, right? You could be like some people. You're voting for Donald Trump because you feel he's done a good job with the economy. You like the fact that he's spiced up the military some. He's put money back into the military infrastructure. He's signed peace treaties with foreign countries like Israel and whatnot. Or maybe you are a Joe Biden supporter. And so what are some of the reasons to support Joe Biden and to vote Democrat? Quite frankly, in this campaign season, the reason to vote Democrat is just because you don't like Trump. I mean, think about it really. What does Joe Biden have to offer? If there's one thing we know at this point, and I'm tired of hearing about how we don't know anything about the candidates. We know everything there is to know about the candidates. We know that under Donald Trump, the economy prior to COVID-19 was phenomenal. We know under 47 years of Joe Biden, it was pretty much business the same, right? But people aren't really voting for Biden because of what Biden has done or hasn't done. People are voting for Biden because they don't like Donald Trump. You are either one of the Trump cronies and you're in the Trump camp and you're a Trumper, or you can't stand the guy. Pretty much seems to be all there is to it. Really, the Democrats have no redeeming value other than the fact they're not Donald Trump. Okay? So, how did we get there? How did we get to a point where a guy who's as unlikable as Donald Trump is, how did he get to be president? How does he have the following that he has when so many people apparently don't like him? Why don't we like him? Well, let's talk for a minute about the average American, right? The average American doesn't watch a whole lot of news. The average American doesn't listen to a whole lot of news. You're probably watching Netflix. It's remarkable, actually, that you're watching this video. You're probably looking for music videos or cats playing a piano or something else. And when you're in your car, hopefully you're not looking at this while you're in your car driving, although too many Americans do that. But when you're in a car, chances are you're not listening to talk radio. Chances are, if you're the typical American, you're listening to some form of music. And more, many of us are, listening to streaming music and stuff like that and trying to avoid, network radio altogether. So what we know about what's going on in politics, we get through 3-minute or less blip verbs from the mainstream media, if you will. Your radio station gives you the news at the top and bottom of every hour. And, they give you the traffic, they give you the weather, they give you the sports, and then, oh, by the way, here's what Donald Trump did today, right? And the problem with that is, one, we're not actively engaged enough to really be making, intelligent decisions. People are influencing what we learn about our candidates, about our politicians, about our elected officials, our elected representatives. We're learning about them, what they're doing, most of us, based on what we're being told in 2-minute or less blip verbs on a radio station or on a television station, or maybe somebody forwards something to us or says, "Hey, did you hear this?" So everything we're getting, we're not seeking it out. It's being pushed on us. So there's a good chance you either like Donald Trump because you feel it's hit a nerve with you, or you've been bombarded by mainstream media so much as to not like Donald Trump. Don't like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a racist. Don't like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a misogynist. He's xenophobic. He's all kinds of things, right? And why wouldn't you believe that, right? You're being told it. Why wouldn't you believe it? And do you really care? Well, you should care, because right now this is such an important election. It really, really is. And I know it seems like you probably hear that every 4 years, but this time it really is. And most people, the media has impassioned the country. The media has enraged the country. The media, what you got to understand, why would the media do this, right? Here's the question. Why would the media, if it wasn't true, why would the media do this? Well, news sources, network television specifically, mainstream media specifically, stations that are advertising, okay, the news is entertainment. I believe there's even been cases trying to bring against the news for not really giving you legitimate news, and they're being looked at really as just entertainment. So what that means is they need the ratings, right? And as they get the ratings, then they get the people that want to advertise on their stations, right? So somebody's paying the bills there. So why is that important? Well, because you got to get the ratings. And sensationalizing things tends to get better ratings. So if we just report how great Donald Trump is, and if Donald Trump does things in Washington to shake the establishment up. So what is the establishment in Washington? Well, you've got we got way too many politicians, quite frankly, but this isn't about cutting numbers of politicians or anything. And all those politicians have just dozens upon hundreds of lobbyists in their ear all the time, trying to give them free stuff, give them money, donating to their campaigns, pushing their agenda, helping them get a little quid pro quo to use the things going around about Hunter Biden and stuff right now. You do this for me and I'll do that for you. That's kind of what's come down to. So their narrative gets pushed a little bit. Well, the same thing's happening with the media. And as such, you're being sold a bill of goods. So the media is controlling you by convincing you subcognitively what to think, what to believe, right? And they do this very quickly because the average American just doesn't have the attention span to really get into seeking out videos or, God forbid, reading to find out what's really going on. And so as such, you have been programmed like the good little sheep that you are. And I know you don't want to hear that, right? We don't want to hear that. I think for myself, nobody tells me what to do. Well, then ask yourself this question. If you support Trump, why do you support Trump? Do you really know why you support Trump? Did you hear a story or a couple of stories, or do people that you don't like support hate Trump, and so as such, because they hate him, you're not them, you're against them, so you've got to like him? Is that your only reason for liking the man? Or if you don't like him, what is it you don't like about him? See, the media, they're salespeople. They're selling the products that are being advertised on their networks. They're selling whatever product it is that the people with the money are telling them to sell. And let me tell you a little something about sales. Here's how sales works. Sales works, they find your hot button. Okay, I give you a for instance. Let's say you go to buy a car. Okay, you're going to buy a car, and the salesperson's looking for your hot button. What's your hot button? And all of us walk in with a hot button. Maybe we're looking at the price, right? Sticker shock. We're looking at that total $50,000 for a doggone pickup truck. Are you kidding me, right? So you're a sticker shock guy. So if I can get the price down, would you buy the car, right? So you're a price person. That's your hot button. Maybe you go in and you obviously you don't want to pay more for the truck than you want to. But at the end of the day, for you, you're smart. You're figuring this whole thing into your budget. Where does this fit into my budget? So you're a payment person. So if I can do anything I want with the cost of the vehicle, as long as I get it within your payment, that's your hot button, right? Or maybe you're hey, you know what? You're not going to screw me on my trade-in. So I know what I want I know what my trade-in's worth. That's what I want. I want for my trade-in what it's worth, right? And so that's your hot button. Well, it's the same thing with what's happening in politics. What's your hot button? So for most people, right? Because quite frankly, our politicians don't really know us, right? For me, my hot button is always the economy, right? Why is it always the economy? It's always the economy for me because people need to work. The more people that are working, then the higher the wages are because it's supply and demand. Supply and demand works two ways. Supply and demand works for the end products, right? I have a product, I'm willing to sell it for X amount of dollars. You're willing to buy it for Y amount of dollars. Somewhere in the middle, we come to an agreement, and that becomes the value of the product, right? Well, the same thing is for wages. The more jobs there are, the more of us are working, the less of us there are for those jobs. That means the wages have to go up. That's why, for me, it's always going to be the economy. But the mainstream media they believe your hot button, and you look at all the rioting and everything that's going on, there's a certain amount of truth to this, right? They believe America's hot button, an easy one to get people really riled up about, is race. Right. So what else do they got on Trump? He's a racist. He's a racist. Everything he says, he does, he's a racist. Let's forget about the fact, as the Republicans will beat us to death over, that, black unemployment is at an all-time low, or black employment is at an all-time high, however you want to look at that. And it's not just the blacks. I mean, it's Mexican and everybody, right? And I hate talking about it in that terms because that in and of itself is racist. When you talk about whites, that's a racist statement. When you're talking about blacks, it's a racist statement. So, but that's what they've done. The media successfully has really played the race card, and as such, they've enraged the American people, which is the goal, right? And when you're enraged, when you're mad, you got to be mad at somebody. So they made you mad at two people, right? One, the police. Let's defund the police. Let's get rid of the police. The police are bad people, blah, blah, blah. Well, two, of course, is Donald Trump, right? So you have to ask yourself, why the hate? Why are the Democrats so against Donald Trump? And more importantly, why have you, as a never Trumper or somebody who hates what do you really hate about Donald Trump? Are you hating what you've just been told and you don't really know? Because, I mean, think about it. If he's a racist, first off, there's a lot of black conservatives, right? Larry Elder, Candace Owens, the Hodge twins, Terrence K. Williams. There's a lot. There's a lot out there. There really is. Good, smart people, right? Some of which are his personal friends, some of which are just, they like the Republican platform. So, there's got to be a reason for that. Some Democrats have jumped ship and gone Republican. There's a reason for that. So you got to ask yourself what you believe about Donald Trump. I've never met Donald Trump, and I'll be honest, before he came down the escalator, I didn't like Donald Trump, okay? Donald Trump as a president, my hot button, of course, is the economy. For me, it's the economy, right? And you can't deny the Democrats want to, right? They want you to believe two things. One, well, the economy was good before we locked the country down, but that was because of Obama. Yeah, it took him 8 years of doing stuff. Obama and Joe Biden, it took them 8 years. In Joe Biden's case, 47 years, but nonetheless, it took them all that long. And then finally, after 8 years, then finally the payoff came in. It's not the fact that Trump came in, cut taxes right away, stimulated the economy and did what he said he was going to do in many, many ways. It wasn't any of that. It was us. But, oh, by the way, it's not us, even though most of the states that were shut down quickly were shut down most drastically and are still shut down. We're all Democrat states shut down by their governors and not President Trump. But we're going to blame him for that. And then, oh, by the way, so that's one hot button, right? One hot button is the economy, and the economy's bad right now, and that's Trump's fault. The fact that it was good before, well, we're not giving Trump credit for that, right? There's the economy hot button, aiming for people like me. There's the racist hot button, aiming for, the people that were getting to riot and destroy things, and it's a good thing to divide the country with, right? It's being very successful. So stuff like that, basically. So at the end of the day, you need to decide what is the most important thing. Here's another thing they're trying to divide us on, right? Where you're at on Roe versus Wade, right? And I will say, I think it's a bit hypocritical that you as a Democrat, and I'm not saying necessarily you, but I mean the Democrats will come out and say it's a woman's right to choose, my body, my choice. And yet they've got us running around wearing masks, even though that whole thing's up in the air, right? So the other thing that's a hot button, right, is healthcare. And they very successfully, and I mean, shame on us older folks and people even older than myself, shame on the seniors who are jumping on the bandwagon of believing that, first off, COVID-19 is Donald Trump's fault. Right. Donald Trump didn't cook it up in one of his laboratories. Matter of fact, unlike, Gates and company, he doesn't have laboratories, to the best of my knowledge. So he's not off doing that. And oh, by the way, if Donald Trump is responsible for the 220,000 deaths or wherever we're at right now, in the United States of America, does that mean he's also responsible for all the deaths in all the other countries? Because we're not the only country going through this, right? And, you can argue that, well, some countries are doing better than others. Here's the sad reality, in my opinion. We're all going to face this. It is an unseen enemy, if you will. And guess what? It's unseen. It's microscopic. If it can get through the face masks, and that's what the experts are telling us, it can get through the face mask, it can get through the doors, the walls, the windows. It's going to get us all. If we haven't been exposed, and I'd be highly suspect if we haven't been, it's almost improbable that you haven't been exposed yet. If you haven't been, you're going to be. And guess what? Even if you have been, you're going to be again, right? So it's going to happen. So there's no amount of shutting it down. There's no amount of wearing face masks or anything else that's going to keep that little germ from getting to you, right? And I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying that to live your life, right? Live your life. And whatever stance you're on and whatever belief you have, make peace with yourself and live your life.